Welcome to episode 1 of my new series of training vlogs. While I'm here, I thought I'd just take a moment and recap the story so far. It's now the beginning of November, and this time last month I was out in Mallorca. I was the fittest and lightest I've been in a while. I was having an absolutely fantastic time, and I was setting loads of new PRs on the routes that I was doing out there. Since I've been back, my fitness has taken a little bit of a back seat, but that's mainly due to the day job. Now, if you don't already know, I earn a living as a freelance cameraman, and that very often means going away for a week, staying in a hotel and having very long days. So typically a working day for me while I'm away is between 12 and 14 hours. Now obviously with that kind of schedule, I don't really have a lot of time for cycling. I don't really even have a lot of time for sleeping, if I'm to be honest. So cycling isn't very practical. Plus usually I'm staying in a hotel and taking a bike with me isn't really an option. And then the double whammy is the food. Now we have all of our food and drinks supplied to us, and this usually is more for the convenience and ease of the people giving it to us rather than the health of the people that are eating it. So unfortunately I probably put on a little bit of weight while I've been working as well. The good news is that it has calmed down a little bit and I've got plenty of time for cycling. But on the other hand, the weather is getting a bit colder and we've just changed the clock, so it's now getting darker earlier in the evening. Since I've been back, I have done a couple of rides and the first one was on one of my favourite routes up Edney's Lane. Now that was only a couple of days after I got back from Mallorca and I really surprised myself. I went up the main climb of Edney's Lane itself pretty quickly and I completed the rest of the route quite fast as well. Now this was obviously due to the training that I did out in Mallorca, plus I think climbing up the larger mountains while I was there really helped psychologically. So you know, you're climbing 7-kilometre mountains in Mallorca, and then when it comes to a 2.5-kilometre climb here that's not even as steep, you think, I can do this, this is absolutely nothing. So that really built my confidence up. It's also very interesting to be able to put rides into context. So again, when you're out in a place that you don't really know, you just ride along and you put the effort in that you feel is appropriate. And then when you come back and you ride routes that you know very, very well and you know how hard or how easy they are, you can kind of get an idea of where you are fitness-wise. The other rides I've done since I've been back have been fairly modest. I did a couple of Zwift sessions and a couple of slightly longer rides with some chums. And then yesterday I went out and did the longest ride that I did since returning. Seeing as it was Halloween, I decided to do a fairly spooky little ride up to a place called Bramshot in Hampshire, which apart from being known as one of the most haunted villages here in the UK, its other claim to fame is that the iconic film star Boris Karloff used to live in the village. The ride up to Bramshot was fairly undulating, so nothing desperately steep to climb. I got to Boris Karloff's house, I took a few photos and then rode straight home again. And when I got back, spookily enough, the distance on the computer was 66.6 kilometres, which was the longest ride I've done since I've returned from Mallorca. Now again, it's very interesting. The first ride I did out there was the ride out to Cap Formentor, which was 65 kilometres. And yesterday's ride was a very similar distance with considerably less climbing. But yesterday's ride I found pretty difficult. Now this may be due to several things. The weather here was very different. It was overcast. a lot cooler than it was out in Mallorca. I was in winter kit. I changed over to my winter training bike, which is considerably heavier than my Trek summer bike. Plus, I'd also ridden straight up there. Like I say, I wasn't there very long. I took a few photos and then I cycled straight back. When we were out in Mallorca, we would probably cycle maybe 30 kilometres, stop for refreshments for 20 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, and then resume our ride. So we did have a bit of a rest. Yesterday was very different. It was just a straight through ride, and I was literally counting the kilometres down until I got home. When I did get home yesterday, I have to admit I was fairly tired. So this kind of suggests that I have lost a little bit of fitness, but based on yesterday's ride, I would say that I'm nowhere near back to square one. I think all it would take for me to get back up to peak fitness is a few more rides and a few more longer rides. So the big question is, what does the future hold? Well, I am looking for my next big challenge, but what that is at this particular moment in time, I have no idea. I'm going to rule out things like day sportives, because riding 100 kilometres or even 100 miles probably isn't that much of a challenge for me at the moment, only because I was doing things very similar to that not very long ago. So if I was to ride something like that, it wouldn't take much for me to get back up to fitness to be able to do that. I think the event that I will be looking for is something like a multi-day challenge, or possibly even a slightly hillier, more mountainous 100-mile route. But whatever it's going to be, I've no doubt I will find something at some point. And finally, with this new series of training vlogs, there's also a slight change of location. I've moved the camera upstairs and we're now in my office. So although the vlogs will look slightly different, the content will still be very similar. So I'll still be talking about training, I'll still be talking about maintenance and things like that. Plus I'll be talking about rides and anything else that kind of crops up along the way. So if you aren't already, please subscribe. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you for watching.